How's it going, guys? Welcome to part 35 of the GTO Trainer. First hand here, under the gun +1 opens. We're in the cutoff with King 3 offsuit, standard snap fold versus a very tight range. Going to be outkicked in a lot of situations, and also just a not very good hand. Hijack opens. We're in the cutoff with some offsuit garbage, very standard snap fold. No real need to break it down. It's pretty self-explanatory why 9-3 offsuit is going to be a fold there 100% of the time. Next hand, under the gun opens. We're in the big blind with ace-3 offsuit. Even though we're getting fantastic pot odds, we only need to call, we're getting, 20% pot odds. Call 1 to win 3. Still is going to be a fold. It's going to get us into, that's tough under the gun. Going to get us into more bad situations. We could end up losing a really big pot, and we also even though it's one big blind, we should still hold on to it because ace-3 is not doing too well up against all of under the gun's range. And majority at a very high frequency, we're just going to be saying goodbye to that extra big blind, kind of putting it in check, folding pretty much. Because even if we hit an ace, it's not going to be good, and we're pretty much only going to be making money in the very off chance that it comes out an ace high board, and they, under the gun, for some reason chooses not to take advantage of their range advantage and try to bluff us off it, even if they don't have an ace, and we're pretty much only going to make money should we hit full house with our 3, hit quads with an ace, and we know that they can't have one. So it's just a hand that's just going to get us into more trouble than it's worth. Hijack opens when the small blind with some beautiful offsuit garbage. Nice easy snap fold. Moving on to the next hand, under the gun +1 opens. We're on the button with King 8 suited. This once again going to be another snap fold. We're going to be outkicked in a lot of situations. A little bit of a middling kicker. So it is still easy to kind of throw it away and not get overly attached to it, but it's also just a hand that can get us into a lot of trouble should we hit our top pair. And we pretty much only have clean outs to a flush majority of the time. And we are just dominated by a lot of their range and just not doing too well up against hands that we aren't dominated by, but still hands that have a lot of equity in what is a very, very tight under the gun +1 range, with still the blind stacked behind, even though we are playing in position. We would much rather a hand with a lot more post-flop potential, so that we can, realize that positional edge. Moving on to the next hand, we open in the low jack with King Jack suited, button 3 bets. So button's going to be 3 betting a little bit wide here, not as wide as an early position open, but against about a middle position open, still going to be decently wide here from the button. Definitely not going to be a raise, definitely not an all-in, definitely not a maybe a fold at a very it's probably 50-50 between a fold and a call. But because we're suited, I do like moving forward with a call here. But I then can also very definitely hear a fold here, considering that we might be outkicked in a lot of situations. It's one of those hands where it might feel stronger than it actually is, and we might get overly attached to it and end up overplaying our hand and losing a really, really big pot, especially heads up out of position. So flop comes ace 8 6 2 spades. I keep on saying ace and 8 interchangeably. So we don't really have anything going on for us. It's going to be a standard check out of position. See what they do. They check it back. Turns a king, so we get second pair. Good kicker. Still probably, would we be? You would think that an ace would. You would think that an ace would c-bet at a very high frequency. You would think that they would be c-betting regardless at a very high frequency on an ace-high board, even if they don't have an ace given their range advantage, and they probably could have taken it down straight away, but maybe they're trying to trap, maybe they're trying to protect their range, maybe they've got some form of pocket pair underneath the ace, maybe they've got a similar hand to us and they've just hit their king, maybe they've got king-queen, for example. They could have queens, could have kings. Kings would probably still c-bet the flop. Could have queens, could have jacks. We are blocking jacks, not too much though. So we are blocking jacks. They could have jacks, tens, etc., etc. And then also they could have some air. But a lot of their air has now connected with that king, especially. You know, some king, queen, same hand as us, king, jack. I do prefer a check here. Just kind of see where we're at, see if they hit the king. They go about 1/3 pot. Reckon not going anywhere here. Going to move forward with a call. We could still be... we were ahead of, you know, some single club hands, single spade hands, for example. They could still have a pocket pair that they're now trying to see if they can, you know, steal the pot, utilize their range advantage on this board. And we do want to get a little bit sticky now. They most likely wouldn't be betting out here just with a flush, you would think. Because if they did have a flush draw, they probably would have bet that on the flop as a part of a C bet, for example. Now when the one-liner or one-carded flush comes out, way too thin to go for value, so we're just going to check, hope for a check back, take down our showdown value. And then they overbet the pot, so this is just going to be a standard fold. No real need to ponder about it. So on the turn, so there's... So the call there, so it's about a 50-50 between... 40-40, and then there's sometimes a check raise in there as well. But yeah, it's mostly between that fold and a call. I can definitely understand the fold, you know, flush comes in. A lot of their air now connects with a king, for example, king, queen, king, jack, king, 10, all those type of hands. Didn't think... I would have thought that, like, queen, jack of pretty much anything with a spade in it would probably c-bet the flop at a very high frequency, utilize their range advantage on this board, and easily take it down, on the flop. And then the overbet on the river, I would be interested to see what type of... mostly just either checking back. Well, they probably wouldn't be checking back. I wouldn't have the ace of spades. I would 100% bet the ace of spades. So it's definitely good enough for them to go to value with... the second nuts here. And I understand the overbet, try to see if things eke out a little bit of value from their very, very strong hand. Move on to the next hand. Hijack opens. We're in the small blind with some offsuit garbage. Going to be a nice, easy fold. Big blind folds again. Well, folds as well. Next hand, cutoff opens. We're in the small blind with king 4 offsuit. Once again, some offsuit garbage that we can easily snap fold. No real need to break it down, no real need to explain it. Moving on to the next hand, cutoff opens in the big blind we raise. We 3-bet with king 10 offsuit. That's a very, very loose 3-bet in my opinion. I would have thought king 10, especially offsuit, would be a fold majority of the time, or at very most a call. I wouldn't think that we'd want to be putting in any more money when we've already isolated a heads-up situation, and we wouldn't really want to be putting any more money when we're out of position. You know, we don't want to be playing a big pot heads-up out of position. We want to, you know, out of position defense, in position offense, so we want to avoid overbloating the pot, and that's also very much overplaying our hand as well. You know, even if it was suited, I would definitely still say, okay, at max this would be calling the initial raise. Definitely not a 3-bet, because then we're kind of isolating a range that's going to be very, very strong and have us dominated in a lot of situations. Like now, if we hit our king 100%, we're probably not good. And with a hand so polarized as king 10 offsuit, when you can't even hit what's the good part of your polarized, then it's just an easy snap fold. So yeah, 100% a fold there. I'd be interested to see... So yeah, so that's mostly just a call. I guess, yeah, from the big blind, calling pretty wide, especially from a late position open. That kind of makes sense. I forgot to factor that in. But I thought definitely not a 3-bet in my opinion, but maybe the idea is... no, sure, that's a fold. Maybe the idea is they want to try to narrow down that wide cutoff opening range, potentially. Could be the idea. But when you're out of position, you probably want to keep the pot nice and small and avoid overplaying your hand, which, I think 3-betting really overplays a king 10 offsuit in a lot of situations. So we limp from the small blind with king 7 offsuit. Big blind comes in with 5x raise. This is going to be an easy snap fold. No need to put any more money in. Heads up out of position with a polarizing hand that doesn't really have much post-flop potential at all. Beauty. So nice, easy, good score here today. No wrong moves. So 10 hands, 15 moves. 98% GTO score. The two correct moves. So what was it? Let's have a look here. So they're saying... What was this hand? Hang on. So let's bring this all back. So pre-flop. So we just called. So they're saying we should raise. Okay. I guess the idea is we should be raising there in order to kind of narrow down the button's 3-bet, because it can be very, very wide, even against a middle position, is probably the only reason I can find. But I would have thought that trying to keep the pot small, trying to avoid playing a big pot heads up out of position in a situation that we've already, isolated a heads up situation, I thought that would trump wanting to try to narrow down the button's range. But I can definitely understand why that we're thinking, okay, the range is going to be very wide here. We want to start to narrow it down a little bit. I can understand that, but I would have thought it's putting a little bit too much money in there and kind of overplaying our hand just a tad, especially when we do have a decent amount of post-flop potential as well. On the turn, I reckon this is a pretty standard call. I know that I can understand a fold at a little bit of a frequency here. We're losing to a lot of ace-x that they have, but the ace-x didn't c-bet, which is interesting. And a lot of their air that we were beating before, well, not beating beforehand, but... Well, we just weren't really beating anything, I guess, is kind of the idea that even if they hit their air, like their air here is king high, essentially. Maybe, obviously queen high at a small frequency as well. And a lot of their air got there with the king. And then they've also picked up, potentially a lot of their hands have now picked up a flush draw with a single spade that we don't have any blockers to. And then when the one-liner comes out, it's a pretty... I would never be betting 1/3 here at all. But yeah, when the one-liner comes out, we're just playing a check fold. Nice and simple. They could have bet any amount. We probably would have folded nice and easy without putting any thought process to it. So hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Have a good one. And as always, play well.